Greetings! If you're interested in all the big questions of philosophy and theology, specifically questions around the nature of God, free will, suffering, morality and truth, then you've come to the right place. My name's Stephen Colborne and I'm a philosopher and author living in London, England. The Deep Thoughts About God video project is a series that I'm making to accompany a book that I released in March 2019 entitled God's Grand Game. The videos that you will see in this series reflect the key themes of that book, with each video correlating closely to a chapter from the book. The book is divided into 8 parts and 45 short chapters, and I'll now give you a brief overview of the contents. This will enable you to decide whether this series is for you, and whether you'd like to subscribe to this channel to follow along as each new video is released. Okay, here's the overview. I begin the book by describing the nature of God as I believe him to be, looking at some of his key attributes and why I am certain that God exists. After describing some of God's key characteristics in part 1, I then move on to describe God's relationship with the human mind in part 2, exploring subjects such as what is causing our thoughts, modes of mind, and the way in which God communicates with those individuals to whom he has revealed himself. In part 3, I hone in on the Christian faith and criticise key Christian doctrines and prominent Christian theological ideas in light of my understanding that we do not have free will and my belief that all will is God's will. The free will theme is further developed in part 4, where I discuss materialism with reference to the atheist philosopher Sam Harris, and also discuss the views of prominent theologians including Greg Boyd and William Lane Craig, who have adopted positions known as open theism and Molinism respectively. Part 5 of the book proceeds with a discussion of morality, and I describe the way in which we might understand morality in a world where God is sovereign over all events. This discussion includes questions around suffering, good and evil, and sin, and the related problem of whether we all deserve hell, as many people who subscribe to the Christian worldview argue we do. Part 6, entitled Science and God, looks at a few aspects of the scientific worldview, and I explain why I believe looking at existence as a chain of causes and effects is misleading and problematic. I touch on a few theories around creation and evolution, and look at the question of truth, and how our dreams give us an insight into the way in which the laws of physics aren't as concrete and absolute as many scientists suppose. In part 7, I describe my worldview in relation to the key beliefs of some of the leading world religions other than Christianity. I discuss ideas such as karma and enlightenment, and suggest some fertile ground for interfaith dialogue between the Abrahamic religions and Eastern religions such as Hinduism and Buddhism. Finally, the book concludes with part 8, in which I present a vision of the Church of the future. This part of the book describes what an institution that takes on board my philosophy might look like, and how we might create a church that is both backward and forward-looking, and that embraces science and technology, as well as a diversity of religious perspectives. So there we have it. If you follow along with this series week by week, I believe you will encounter arguments that will make you think deeply and differently about subjects such as the nature of God, free will, suffering, morality, and ultimate truth. If your interest is piqued, please subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of future videos as soon as they're released. If you don't want to wait for each new video to be released and you'd like to read my work directly, I'd encourage you to consider purchasing a copy of God's Grand Game, which is available from all leading retailers including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple and Kobo. Visit godsgrandgame.info for all the details. Thank you for watching.